I spend a lot of time, as I'm sure a number of you do, traveling around to different spiritual centers and growth centers. I live in New York City, but I spend quite a bit of time in California. And, you know, when I'm on that circuit, it feels like every third person I meet is reincarnated from Cleopatra and survives on a diet of peanut shells and ionized water. And, you know, that's my world. Those are my friends. Those are my family. And I love it. But it can get a little old after a while. And coming to ARE is such a refreshing experience because the cross-section of people is just so wonderful. You know, you meet people from the military and school teachers and dentists. Everybody keeps talking about dentists. I keep hearing that theme coming up. People from all the different professions, clergy, veterans, just an incredible cross-section of people. And the case that I make in my book, and the thing that I'm going to speak with you folks about this morning, is that this marriage of mainstream life and alternative spirituality, esoteric spirituality, is in many respects America's unique contribution to the world. Esoteric and occult and mystical spirituality traveled to this country in ideas and in people very, very early on in its existence, starting in the 1600s, before there was a United States, before there was a Constitution. From its very earliest days, going back to the colonial period, the country that we call America developed a reputation as a safe harbor for people with alternative and unusual religious beliefs, many of whom were fleeing persecution in Europe, and I'm going to talk about that. There were many other things going on in America, going on in the American colonies, and I don't mean to or intend to paint an excessively rosy picture. The destruction of the Native American culture was beginning. There was slavery. There were dark things going on as well, but the fact is, America became a unique vessel for the personal spiritual search, and it protected the personal spiritual search from very early on in its existence to the present day. As such, some of these philosophies from the ancient world that could seem very mysterious and very confounding to modern people, those philosophies traveled here and they became remade in the fresh winds of this young nation so that they could be expressed by everyday people through all walks of life. The birth of therapeutic and alternative spirituality, the birth of New Age spirituality, sprang forth from this country as a kind of launching pad and spread throughout the entire world. Not only the Western world, but the Eastern world as well. In the late 19th century, the revival of Hinduism and the peaceful Hindu independence movement that spread through India was inspired to a degree by some of the ideas of the movement that we call Theosophy, which began in New York City in 1875. So I'm jumping ahead a bit when I say that, but I want to point out that this country has served as a vessel to spread independent spirituality, alternative spirituality, all the things you read about in the Cayce readings. This country has served as a vessel to spread those ideas throughout the world in language that is accessible to everyday people. It's an extraordinary role that America has played in recent history, and I think continues to play. And I want to get real specific with you about what I'm saying, because it's easy to say flowery things about where a person comes from. Yay, we're the best place. And I don't intend to indulge in any of that. I want to be very clear and very specific about what I mean historically when I talk about this remarkable, unique role that America has played in spreading the revolution in alternative spirituality throughout the world, the revolution that was helped along tremendously by Edgar Cayce. I'm part of the New Age culture. I raise my children in it. I try to instill in my own children the values and the ideals and the love for a spiritual search that appears in the Edgar Cayce readings as part of my life. But I would say that sometimes those of us in the alternative spiritual culture are too quick, too enthusiastic to make hasty connections between the things that we're interested in and some of the philosophies of ancient Egypt. And it's understandable because Egypt was a mysterious, unimaginably rich and deep place. Its symbols, its architecture, its images are absolutely magnetic. They resonate, they pulsate with life. And it's very understandable that we would want to make those connections. Sometimes I think we make them too quickly. Sometimes in books and magazines, those connections are drawn out too sensationally. People don't engage in enough examination of asking, where did this really come from? What is astrology the way we practice it today? How does it differ in the 21st century from what we understand the Babylonians and the Egyptians and the Greeks have been doing? Those are important questions to ask to really know who we are. Nonetheless, there really is a genuine thread of connection between the philosophies of ancient Egypt and the spiritual search that we're engaged in today. If one doesn't exaggerate it or leap to wild conclusions about it, that thread, that lineage, that family tree can be traced. And we can trace, to a degree, how it emerged from the ancient world, re-emerged in modern life in Europe, came to America, and just exploded everywhere.